This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here with our old friend, J.L. Groux. We are here at Stratus Winery, Niagara-on-the-Lake. How are you today, sir?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Well, we're very happy to catch you today because I know you're mid-harvest. Being a notorious late harvester, we know you still have an awful lot on the vines, but we would love to hear from you how the 2016 vintage has been treating you at Stratus thus far.
It has been a pleasure. You know, it's since 2012 we have been waiting for a grand harvest, and this is the one, we believe.
Really?
It's very different than 2012 in a way that we had a different dynamic in terms of bud break and flowering, and heat waves are at a different time and so on. But you know, as I am going through picking and tasting the wine and juice and grapes and skin and seeds we are having around, it's getting more and more obvious that we are facing a great harvest. And you know, a great sign of that is when we have typically some grapes that are being picked earlier than usual, like 3 weeks compared with the last 2 years. We are 3 weeks ahead in picking many things. We had some odd things happening, you know, like
you were telling me.
when you start picking Riesling before Chardonnay, that's an unusual world. We haven't seen that before. You know, Cap Sauvignon was finished Veraison way ahead of Cap Franc and way ahead of many other varieties. Nevertheless, it's still going to be the last variety picked, but with fantastic quality into it. So it's going to be a very, very good quality. And interestingly enough, not only for reds, because of all that heat units we need for that, for these polyphenols, but as well for whites, because we still manage to retain some acidity. It's not like a very warm year like 2010, where you lose all your acidity on your whites and have great reds. This year, definitely, it was a nice, balanced act of nature.
How do you feel that that dry spell, that drought, shall we say, affected the vines on the estate?
Affected them positively. So for us, the drought is not an issue, no need for irrigation at all, absolutely not. We have a deep soil, roots going very far, and we have seen no sign of any stress, and that is good. And we had some slowdown, so it slows down the growth, which is great. You know, less leaves, less branches, but more focus on the vines, on the wine and the grapes, if you want. And that is what is more important to us at the end of the day, is that we are growing grapes, we're not growing leaves.
Now, I know that you love all of your children equally, but in this particular vintage, which one of your children is seriously excelling in your mind?
Well, again, difficult to say because we're only halfway through harvest, so we have a lot. We only picked Merlots in terms of reds, so we have all our reds hanging out there, happily. So it's very too early to say, but tasting this, we have a new clone of Chardonnay that is for the first time producing for us, and the spectacular quality we got out of it is very encouraging for the future of Chardonnay.
This is a Burgundian clone that works particularly well in this region.
Yes, it does. You know, it makes small berries, beautiful flavors, ripe and early. It's a real pleasure to grow and make wine with.
You've also done a fair bit of regrafting as opposed to replanting in the vineyards. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that? Because I find that quite fascinating.
Yes, it is fascinating. Regrafting is you start a new variety from under the graft. You know, everything is grafted, so you start a new variety. You keep the old variety for a year and you keep growing the new variety, and after a year and a half you have a new variety, and the beauty of it is that you kept all your rooting system. So you are not starting from scratch when you are replanting. So normally you switch a variety within a year and a half instead of 3. But you keep your rooting system, all your mineralization, all the roots have access to all of that. So this is a great advantage to work that way. You need a real great grafter. The window to do that is only 2 weeks a year. You really have to be on top of it, but the results are rewarding indeed.
I was about to say, it does beggar the question why people don't regraft more often than they replant.
Well, because there's very few people who are able to do that. So you have to book your grafter 3 years ahead almost, and the window is very narrow. So it's a lot of work. It's not a cheap way to do things. It's a lot of work, but it's a quality-oriented technique, if you want.
Since we had such a dry summer and then we had that rain just towards the end of the growing season, was there any kind of disease pressure?
No, that's a great year for no disease, in fact, because we had this dry weather all along, so fungus do not thrive on that kind of weather. There was a bit of worrying when in September it's starting to rain heavily, so there was some concern about that, but if you had a good program and everything was well all along the season, there's no reason why things would go wrong, and it did not. And when I see the grapes, we were walking around the vineyard, we can see there is no botrytis, no fungus, it's just hanging there